ORICO had reached out to me and asked if I could take a look at their RAM kit known as the Raceline Neon DDR5 RGB. Thank you ORICO to have provided this unit for me to share with everyone. Now, this RAM kit comes in two colors, which is in black or in white. And the one that I'm having is the black version. Now, when I received this package, in fact, it's sealed with a plastic wrapper. I removed that off. And when you take this out, you'll be given with a box. And this is protecting the RAMs. And kudos to them, they have done into details as in like to have this form protecting the RAMs and with this box. So in the event during shipment, right, even if you throw or things like that, the RAMs will be well protected, or should I say well cushioned with this form. Now right inside you have this two piece of RAMs, which I will show you in a short while. Besides this, you have the instruction manual, or should I say user manual. Just some details on how to clip. This is good for beginners. Now in the package itself, two very beautiful ORICO RAMs, which you can see the design of it. This is in black. I like how the cutting is this way, and when you plug it in, right, you can't see the logo at all, just the DDR5, and I believe the diffusion will be nice. Now one thing I noticed that these are tall RAMs, so if you guys are to use air cooler, right, take note about the height. Let me just see how tall these are. Okay, this is about 45mm tall, so take note on this. And I also like the fact that they have gone to the extra mile to provide this rubber cover to protect the pins. Nice. Now as for the specs of these RAMs, these are 32GB kit with a cache latency of 32, 39, 39, 102, and has a bus speed of 6400 with a voltage of 1.4 volt. Now let's see how this pair of RAMs fare. I'll plug in the RAMs on my system, which is a open bench, and these are the specification. You can pause and have a look. I'm making use of the ASUS ROG Strix B850G Gaming Wi-Fi S, and this is the waifu version of this model. And for the processor, I'll be using a 9950X from AMD, and these are the RAMs, which is from ORICO, and you can see that the capacity meets, which is 32GB kit, and it's sitting nicely on the A2 and the B2 slot. Now for the very first time, if you want to install Windows, right, the first thing you should be doing is heading down to the configuration to cool your system, which is under monitor. Now for ASUS is monitor and it's QFan configuration. For some of you using MSI and such, right, it will be on another section, so do take note on it. But make sure you have set your cooling properly before you install Windows. So right now I'm just going to show you that yes, I've already set the radiator fans to PWM mode and having a profile called turbo, and to set the lowest speed at 600 RPM, and having my pump, which I'm using the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 360, to run at full speed. Okay, now next thing will be on AI Twinkle set to Expo 1, and you can install your Windows. Now assuming that you have installed Windows and you want to do the settings on your RAMs, you can. Now for some reason, right, these RAMs, when I try to set the frequency to 2133, okay, which is this, let me just show you, and to set the DRAM timing to this, which is a 1:1 ratio, the system just crashed. So I have no choice but to leave it as auto, and at the meantime to set this to auto. Oops. Okay, let's see, it's this one. So with this say, right, on default Expo profile, let me take you to Windows. But before I do so, right, this section that I'm going to tell you is based on the fact that my processor can take these settings. So I've set this. So throughout the whole run, right, when I test the RAMs, it will be on this configuration. And what I've done is, under Advanced, heading down to AMD overclock, I've done the Precision Boost Overdrive. Now, before I do any tweaks on the Precision Boost Overdrive, I've set the SoC Uncore OC mode to enable, okay, which is down here. Then on Precision Boost Overdrive, as you can see, I've set to advanced. Now for PBO limits, I've not done any settings of my own. You can do it by setting it to manual, not an issue. But I just want to make use of the AMD default PBT, TDC and EDC. That's why I set to auto. And at all times, as a reminder to all my viewers out there, do not set to motherboard, because motherboard is actually declared by the motherboard manufacturer, so you wouldn't know how high they have done the settings. So it's to play safe, is either you set to auto or you do it manually if you know what you're doing. So for now, I'll just set it to auto. And for curve optimizer, since this is a 9950X, I've set to per CCD, and I'm doing it in a moderate way so that my processor can, you know, have the stability. And what I've done is that on the first 8 core, I'm done a magnetic of -15, and for the last 8 core, I set it to -10. And I've also done the curve shaper. Now for curve shaper, for those of you who are not aware how to do this, kindly read up, alright, or find on, search on YouTube, or you can actually refer to my PBO maximizing, I should say optimizing method, which I explain what curve shaper is. And for this, right, basically what I've done is actually on the there are 3 frequency, which is medium frequency, as you can see over here, and followed by the high frequency, which is the next section over here, and the max frequency. So what I've done is that on mid frequency, right, on each frequency there are 3 temperature readings. So I have set the medium, okay, let me just screw up, the medium frequency, be it low, medium temperature or the high temperature, as -15, see. Then for the high frequency, I've set it to -10 for all the 3 temperature, as in like low, medium and high temperature. Okay, now kindly do not blindly copy all my configuration, alright, it might not work for you. It worked for my processor, so that's why I'm showing it to you, as I wanted to test throughout using this setting on the RAMs. Now for max frequency, same thing, the 3 temperature, I've set it to -5. Now having said this, right, as mentioned to you right now, it's only on Expo 1. I've not done any tweaks or such. Okay, but for the processor, I did set the B core voltage as offset to -0.05 volt. So right now, concentrating on the RAMs itself, I've not done anything. I just set the Expo profile and I'll save. And to show you in Windows, here we go. Now during this period of time, right, it will take some time for it to do the memory training, which is in UEFI. So once that's done, right, it will load into Windows. And in Windows, right, same thing, it will pick up the UEFI settings and to pump to Windows OS. Then it will load into the home screen where you have this lock-on screen, which right now is saying it's taking some time. Alright, I'm just going to lock in. Now when you lock in, right, kindly do not click on any application, let it run. As you can see, my background is still running, so I let it run. And with this said, once everything is loaded, right, let me just show you the first thing, which is what's the RAM is made of. Now these are pretty good RAMs, I should say. Let me just set this and to exit and to run again. Okay, hang on, let me just pin this. Yep. Now as mentioned to you, right, the build quality of these RAMs are very good. Let me just show you. I'm just going to pull the whole full stats. Okay, I'm just going to push this away. Now looking on the memory itself, for the two DIMM slot, row 1 and row 3, right, if you look at it, these are all SK Hynix and it's of M die. That's the reason why they are running at low voltage, which is 1.4. And having to say this, by default, let me just test something out for you guys. Okay, let me just quit this and to load the sensor only. Now, as mentioned to you, this is only expo profile. I've not done any tweaks on the RAMs itself, and of course the processor, I've done my own setup. Now, to show you the stats over here, how I pull these stats is pretty straightforward, whereby off from hardware info and to make use of River Tuner. Okay, let me just close this first. Okay, River Tuner is to allow you to put overlays, okay, by using hardware info. And how do I actually get this is because it comes with the application known as River Tuner, okay, which is the desktop overlay. So when I click this, right, it appears a black screen. So how do you actually display all this from hardware info? Take for example the first one, which is the CPU temperature. I took it from here. Okay, this is where the actual temp runs. Okay, just do a right click, point at it, do a right click, or should I say select, do a right click, then click on OSD, RTSS. Then from here, right, if you were to notice, these two are checked. If I uncheck it, it will be gone. See, this is gone. Okay, let me just minimize this. So if you want to show the temperature, just check on show the value. By showing the value, right, it doesn't tell you anything. So it's best that you click on the second one where it says show label, so that you know that this is the CPU temperature. And as you can see below, right, there are different colors. You can set the colors if you want to. Take for example, see, right now it's white. You can change color. I'm not going to do that. Now, as for why I can stack them line after line, right? Take for example, let's say this, okay, let me just pull this down. This CPU, I want to drag all the way down over here. So on the OSD RTSS, right, you can have the position. This is line 1. You can just drag down, let's say line 21. See, you went down all the way to line 21. So this is actually how you arrange the stats. Okay, I'm just going to bring it back. Now, to orientate you with the stats, for the first few, I think you will understand, which is the CPU temperature, the core clock. Now, for the core clock, I'm making use of the average, which is this. All the 16 core will be divided, then coming to an average to give you this score over here. Right? Then the vCore settings, which I told you I've offset, that's why it's running pretty low. I just want to bring down the temperature. Then come to the core usage, which is all this, as in like the load 100% and such. Now coming to this CPU package power. Now this is the overall of your SoC, of your RAMs and your processor to give you the package power. As for core CPU core power, right, is only on the core itself, as in like the 16 cores over here. So this is the power that is drawing. Now for this 9950X, right, best is not to go over 175 watt, okay, on the core power. So that's why I highlighted this in red. Then you can refer back when I run the Cinebench later, right? When I run the stability test later, right, you can have a look at how much is being drawn on all this, inclusive of the PPT, TDC and EDC. Now coming to this section, this is more important, whereby right now it's actually default. I find that this is very high, okay, which is running 1.24 volt on your RAMs, which is from the SoC. So having this, right, you will see that the CPU socket, right, is the actual run, though it's stamped as 1.24, okay, by default. right? I've not done any tweaks. And how I get this CPU SoC is through here, which I will scroll down from hardware info under this, your motherboard sensor. Okay, when you scroll down, right, you have two. One is CPU B BDIO, which is quite standard, 1.4, 1.5 around there. Then you have this CPU SoC. Now, just going to show you something. Why I say it's pretty high. Now, probably right now it's actually not on load. That's why you can see that it's actually 1.272. But if I were to load this, right? Okay, this is the, okay, so sorry, in a mess. I have clicked on the stability test, which is this. Okay, let me just close this. Okay, this. See, it says system stability. So if I do run this, right, take a look at the, it's in fact already pulling. 1.288 is very high. So I would prefer to push this down. I'm not going to run this for long, alright? It's going to hurt the processor. So do take note that try not to go above 1.216. Okay, in fact, it's best that you can, draw it down to 1.17 or 1.18. But based on the fact that this bus speed is 6,400, so it's not able to run at this SoC voltage, as in like below 1.2. You will have to be either 1.2 or 1.216 around there. That would be a safe gauge to run. Now, having to say so, right, once you have done any tweak later, okay, or maybe in future, right, on the RAMs itself, be whether you want to do a timing, etc., right, make sure you use either 64 to run the system stability test. Okay, that means say every time when you change, right, make sure you run. And when you run, right, for beginners, right, probably you run for 15 minutes to 30 minutes. If it's stable, right, then you try to tweak and such. But once you have finalized the whole thing, right, I would advise you to run the stability test for about 2 hours, and also this OCCT. Okay, this is free. Both, in fact, you can run the free version, not a problem. Okay, run this probably about 2 hours or so. Same goes to this, the system stability test. Now, often you'll hear out there to run Y Cruncher or maybe the Prime 95 or even the MEM test 86. Now, those are to extreme overclockers. Then probably you will, or you want to make sure that it's very, very stable. Yes, you can pull all those benchmark to go and test it. Be it either 64 using the stability test, or OCCT, or to use MEM test 86 or also Prime 95. Okay, now back to where I was. I wanted to pull this down, so let me just show you how. Now I have this icon here called UEFI. In fact, it's actually a shortcut that I've done. I will show you how I do this, because this will save me time. As in I don't have to, okay, hard to see. I don't have to go press start, reset, and press on the delete key. Okay, you press so much on the delete key, I think it's bad for your key press too, or maybe your keycap. So what I'll do is actually I'll do a shortcut, alright, with this command. Now I will type this command in my URL. You can copy, right? Shutdown space / R, leave a space. Now what R means is reset, okay, or restart. Then / FW, pointing it. Once you restart, go to UEFI or go to BIOS /T0, timer 0. Then you say the delay is 0, but I would prefer to set it as 1. 1 second delay is better than 0. Okay, sometimes it's too fast, so the system might just hang or such. So I prefer to set it as T1. Click on next, then you can name it. Okay, normally I will put UEFI. You can put BIOS, up to you. I'll just put it UEFI, then click on finish. Once you've done this, right, don't stop there. Do a right click, click on properties, then hit on advanced over here, and check this run as administrator. If you do not run an administrator, right, nothing will happen. Okay, make sure you do this, and you can change the icon. I know this is pretty ugly, so you can just select. I will select this icon. It looks like a BIOS, so I apply. All right, right now, as I mentioned to you, I do not like this vCore SoC, which is very high, or should I say VDDCR SoC voltage is too high. So I'm just going to pump it down just to protect the RAMs and my processor. So these are things that you can, take note on. And based on the fact that, yes, I know that this is a review on this RAMs itself. They are not, high tier RAM, or, it's like not tight timing RAMs and such. They are okay to run, okay, as standard, because it's actually CL32 and such. Now, coming to UEFI, I will just go to AI Tweaker and you scroll down. Now, it varies from boards, things like MSI, SROC, or Gigabyte. But more or less, you will be able to see the voltage beside the SoC voltage. Now, the top, as you can see, right, the VRM core voltage, this is meant for the CPU. Now, for the RAMs itself, I will take note on this, the CPU SoC voltage. Okay, or sometime for other motherboards, right, it will be VDDCR underscore SoC voltage. So for this, right, I'll set it to manual. Then I'll lock it. Now, why do you see the figure is 1.175 volt? This is what I've keyed in, right? And I was testing this 6400 megahertz bus speed RAM with the voltage of 1.15. It crashes, so I have to pump up slowly. And when I pump to 1.16, it also crashes. Then when I pump to 1.165, it works, but it's not regular. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So for the sake of having stability, I pump it to 1.175. Give it 0.01 more volt. Okay, so this is the final. Now I'm just going to save and to show you in Windows. Now once I change certain things, right, on UEFI, as mentioned to you, it will take some time for the RAM training cycle. Then once that's done, right, it will boot into Windows. Now this will take a longer time, that's for sure, based on the fact that the system, right, is recognizing the new voltage setting for the RAMs itself. So this is normal. Now why do I need to actually pump the SoC voltage down? First of all, you will lower down the temperature. Second of all, you're protecting your RAMs and you can prolong the life. Because more voltage equal more heat, and more heat, it will damage any electronic components in the long run. So I would rather want it to run lower. It might not be a very significant lowering down the voltage, but more or less it helps. Alright, loading to Windows. Now for Windows, do not hurry, as this will take the instruction off from your UEFI or BIOS. Then once synchronized, right, and it plug into Windows so-called task, the scheduler itself, right, it will load. Okay, right now I'm just gonna lock in. Now when you load again into Windows home screen, do not rush to click on stuff. As you can see right now, all the background is actually running. Okay, let me just set this away, so every time you just take sensor. So while it's loading, do not do anything, let it run. See, there are background application that is running, so just let it run. Okay, I believe this is stable. Now, as I mentioned to you, I have lowered down the SoC voltage, right? So I'm just going to run either 64 again with the stability test. Okay, here we go. I'll just run. Now I'm not going to do a full run, but just telling you that, see, it lowers down. Previously it was 1.288. Right now it's 1.208. It's so much lower. So sometimes, besides the RAM, right, catering the voltage as 1.4 volt, as you can see over here, you will need to take note on the SoC voltage too, because giving too much, right, it will hurt. Alright, as mentioned, I'm not going to run the full run. Now, besides this, right, there is also something that I would like to share with you. Right now it's at default. The only thing that I've changed is running on Expo Profile is already on overclock mode with a lower SoC voltage. Now, this will be interesting. I will run this to show you the latency and such. Okay, let me just run this. Do note, this is by default. Okay, the RAMs is very stable. As mentioned, it's from SK Hynix M die, running a voltage of 1.4. So it's doing very well. Okay, now for the memory, see, it's 80.6 nanosecond. Then for L1 cache is 0.7 nanoseconds, which is standard. For L2 cache, it's also standard 2.5. All this, those who actually do RAM timing and such, right, you will be familiar with this when you run the memory benchmark off from IDA64, which is this icon over here. So as mentioned, right, L1 cache is 0.7 nanoseconds, L2 cache is 2.5 nanoseconds. Else for the memory and this, right, okay, will give you the actual run timing. So with this said, right, I have done up this, and oops, so sorry. Okay, these are my previous tests, by the way. Alright, so with this say, right, okay, let me just do the, okay, let me just do this. The default, okay, I've not done any tweaks, is running on all this latency, which is 80.6 nanoseconds, nanoseconds for the memory. Then L1 cache, as mentioned to you, is standard 0.7 nanoseconds. L1 cache is 0.7 nanoseconds. L2 cache is 2.5 nanoseconds. And for the last one, L3 cache, which is 10.9 nanoseconds. Now I'm just going to do a slight tweak. But before I do a slight tweak, take a look at the memory settings. Alright, let's see, memory settings here. Okay, these are the settings. You can pause and take a look. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tweak all this. Alright, and I forgotten to mention on the 1-to-1 ratio. Now, as mentioned to you, I'm not able to set the UClock DIV1 mode. As in, like, UClock equal to MClock. That will run 1-to-1 ratio, and I can't pump the frequency to 2133. So I leave it as auto. But when I look at the Zen timing over here, right, be whether I look at the Zen timing or over here, it checks out. The memory clock is 3200, and the U clock will be half of the memory clock, which tells me that, oh, this is a 1-to-1 ratio. And to double confirm that it's actually a good synchronization between the RAMs and the processor, right, I look at the command delay, which is 1p. So this tells me that, oh, okay, these RAMs are really performing. Now, as mentioned, I'm going to tweak all these settings over here. So I'm just going to hit down to UEFI. Okay, close this. Where is my UEFI? Okay, over here. And I'll show you what I'll be doing. by setting this right, you can try this out. Okay, it might work for you or might not work for you, but anyway, these are just like these are the standard things that I will do on RAMs, and to shorten some of the latency. Okay, coming to here, I will go to AI tweaker. As mentioned to you, see, I can't set this right, the frequency clock to 2133. It will crash, or neither can I do it on the DRAM timing controller together with this. Okay, if I set this to 2133 and I set inside here, right, which is this uclock diff1 mode to this, right, I can't run, it will just crash. Okay, let me just double check. Yep, auto. Now with this said, I know that it's still running 1:1 ratio, so what I'll do is that I will just do some tightening up the latency, so that it will give better result. I would say that not really a drastic increment, but more or less it will help, especially for workload, whereby the units per seconds, right, might not be a very big gap, but it still saves time. As mentioned to you, it's either you do it or you don't do it. Now for all these settings, right, what I will do is actually 108. I memorized this all the while because I've been tweaking. Okay, now if you want to know what TRC, TWR, I'm not going to go into it. Okay, this is your homework. Go and check it out, what they are, and kindly do not copy this blindly. All right, you can try. These are all the same settings because it's actually like in half. You can try this, all right, but if it doesn't work, right, please set it back to auto. All right, for the refresh interval, I'll just press like that because I know that I'm going to key all the way to the max, which is 65,535. Now as for this, I will do half adjustment. Okay, probably I will set it to 500, which it works, I know. Then for this, right, I will set it to 510. I'll leave it slightly, then I'm not going to hurt the clock or such. For this, I will set it to 415. Okay, it's actually from here I set to 415. From here I set to 510, and this I half it. Okay, this is more aggressive, half of it. Then come to TRTP, I will not touch. Okay, scrolling down, coming to this TRRDL, half of it. Okay, half of it, half of this, what I'm talking about. Then for this, right, the T floor I will set to 28. Same goes to this 28. You can start off by 32. If it works, then you can tune more aggressively. Then coming to this, right, I will not tune aggressively. It's like, I know you might say that it's actually half. No, I'll set it to 6. Alright, let's see the latency right now as we save and go. Now we have set all the settings on the processor itself as shown to you. I will lower down the SoC voltage for the for the RAMs, and at the meantime do some slight adjustment on the delay and the time to synchronize and such. Okay, the time cycle and such. So again, as mentioned, I'm not going to be long-winded to explain stuff, so probably this is your homework to actually do some read up. What do each function do and such, and why am I doing it half and such. Okay, it's mainly because of performance, that's all. And when I do all these settings, right, it doesn't pull a lot of voltage. That's the thing. So you got to do it slowly, not so aggressively, until you hit the correct spot. Now I will be showing you this, what I've done. Okay, you can pause while it's actually loading, right, waiting for it to load. You can have a look at what I've done. These are the things that I've done. Alright, so you can refer to your DRAM timing if you want to do this. Okay, let me just log in to this first. Right, see, so these are the things that I've set. And for the expo profile, as I mentioned to you, right, the VD, this is actually down here is known as SOC underscore CPU. Alright, by right is known as the DDR5 underscore SoC. I set to 1.175 volt. Now, by doing this, right, take a look at the stats right now. I've told you, right, I've set to 1.175, but right here it shows 0.01 lesser. By right it should be 1.175, but it doesn't matter because what I'm focusing on is the actual CPU SoC. How much does it run? Which earlier on I show you, okay, it's running max at 1.216. Alright, now back to where I was. As I mentioned to you, the latency. So I'm going to click on this. And over here, see, these are the default. See what happened when okay, I'll just run. Probably I'll get this off the way. I'll just run this, and once it's stopped, right, I'll just write down all the readings. By right, you should have a better, lower latency. In fact, it's not by right. It is gonna be lower latency on the memory. As for L3 cache, it depends. So right now, I'm just gonna wait. Now it can be fun tuning the RAMs itself, but it will not be fun if you were to up the voltage and such. It will not be advisable. So with this say, right, I'm a kind of person whereby when I want to tune some stuff, right, I'll make sure that I lock to a certain voltage, then I start to tune. Then slight adjustment and such. Alright, results are out. The first one, memory, is 72.1. See, it drops by around, I would say, 7.9 nanoseconds. Now the 7.9 nanoseconds, you might say that, hey Cleo, come on, you gotta be joking. How much time would that be? Well, to me it is when I do compilation. Okay, it does help. I'm not too sure if this will help in games, but you can try. Let me know, alright, in the comment. Alright, for as mentioned, L1 and L2 cache, right, is always standard. I don't have to look at it. Okay, this is, let me just change this, 1 nanoseconds, 2.5 nanoseconds. Come to the last one, see, it did help. Not a lot, but it still helped. Now with this say, right, I am just gonna run this, okay, for 30 minutes. Since I have set the okay, maybe I should show you over here. See all these settings over here. I've changed all this. I've done all the changes over here. I've done the SoC voltage, and I've done the PBO2 on my processor and such, and to set the offset vCore. So let's see how stable it is. Okay, do pardon me, just gonna rearrange all the stuff over here so that you can see properly what's going on. I will just set this like this, bring it down. Now this was the test that I've done previously, so that you witness that, yep, I've not done any alteration on the settings for the DRAMs, and this was the recording that I've shown you previously. Then in the meantime, I will have to push this down. Alright, I'm just gonna pull the Zen timing too, so that you can see that it's actually a 1-to-1 ratio, as you can see over here. Or you can actually double check all these readings over here, right? It tallies with this. Okay, this section over here, it tallies with this. Alright, I am just gonna run this for 30 minutes. Then by the end, or probably the last, this will keep going. So once it reaches about 28 minutes or so, right, I will talk about it. So right now, these are all the figures. Okay, and just as a reminder, whatever changes you have done on the RAMs or on your processor, is always good to run the IDA64 system stability test. Okay, for a couple of hours. Best is actually 2 to 3 hours, but since this is just a demo, I will just run 30 minutes. In fact, this configuration I run more than 2-3 hours on the IDA 64 and the OCCT test, so it checked out very well. And for your information, I've tested these RAMs for more than 2 to 3 weeks. In fact, it's the 3rd week. So it's very stable with all the settings that I've done. Alright, here we go. Alright, last 5 minutes or so, as you can see, there are no errors, which is good. This proves that the RAMs after tweak and the processor after tweak is all very stable. In fact, these RAMs are rock stable, and when you look at the temperature, these are doing fine. And looking at the SoC voltage, is still sticking to 1.216, which is good. And looking at the temperature on the RAMs itself, right, it's 46 and 47, and still maintaining the voltage is 1.41. And as you can see, all these are consistent. Now you might be looking, hey, the clock is like not above 5. As I told you, this is the average. If I were to pull out everything, see, these are all 5 gig. Alright, now since I run till right now, which is stable, I'm just gonna stop here, and I'm just gonna run the OCCT test. Here we go, just gonna load the OCCT. Now for OCCT, most likely I'll run 15 minutes, or should I run 30? Okay, I'll just run 30 and I'll talk about it right at the end. Now for OCCT, right, to stress test the RAMs, later on when you look at the RAM temperature, right, it'll be much higher based on the fact that I've set all this to large extreme steady, and with the instruction set as AVX2, this will stress a lot on the RAMs. So I'm just going to run. Now this is actually a trial version, or should I say a try version, but it doesn't matter, I still can run. So just got to wait. Okay, here we go. Gonna run this, and I'll talk to you guys at the end of the 30 minutes. As you can see, there's less than 1 minute over here, and looking at the temperature and such, all hovering pretty well. Now especially for AVX2 on OCCT test, right, it really stressed on the RAMs itself. That's why you can see that the thermal, right, it went up from 47, which is on the IDA 64 stability test. It went all the way up to 49.8 or 50 degree. Let's take it as both as 50 degree, which is good. It doesn't go above 50 degrees Celsius, and there are no arrows and such. So right now I'm just gonna wait for it to stop, and you will see that there is no error detection. See, done, completed. So this tells me that be it whether to test on the IDA 64 stability test or the OCCT test, right, these RAMs are running fine. They are rock stable with the settings that I've done, inclusive of the setting I've done on the processor. This pair of ORICO Raceline Neo DDR5 RAMs gave me a very good impression. First off, the packaging. As you can see, during the unbox, it's in a solid box, and it's being protected with this form over here. And kudos to them, attention to details. This is what I like, where you have this rubber cover to protect the pin at the base of the RAMs itself. The diffusion of the RGB is nicely done. But one thing you guys need to take note that the height of these RAMs are high profile, which is at 45mm tall. So if you are placing air cooler, right, please be mindful of this height. Now besides this, right, it does perform pretty well, and based on the fact that the price, it's not expensive. Now right now is in fact having a promotion at Amazon. I will leave the link in my URL, or you can scan at my top right hand corner where you have the QR code. It will take you directly to that and to purchase these RAMs. And as I mentioned, right, it does perform well as on both AIDA64 or OCCT tests. And reason why I say this is that I have tweaked these RAMs. So imagine that I were to pump up the voltage instead of 1.4 to 1.45, it might even, take it to a better height. Anyway, for SK Hynix M-die RAMs, right, they are very good in underclocking or overclocking. Undervolting and overclocking. Sorry about this. Well, with this said, I'd like to thank ORICO to have provided this pair of RAMs for me to share with you guys. And for those of you who are actually new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. And do me a favor, if you wanted to help my channel to grow, help me to click on the like button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.